to decision making and debate is a rate update, so that you're making informed debate. So the team's going to give an impact of all the resolutions were passed and also an update of some new information we've got yesterday or today.
We came into today at 6.77%. If all the amendments that are on the table are adopted, it will take us to 6.81%. So increase. We were also advised this morning that there has been some additional rating growth. There has been a surge in subdivisions being processed by our provider, significant than we would have thought. Enables us to reduce the rates by 1.5 million. That's about 0.2%. So taking that into account, it's back to 6.6%, 6.60%. The split of that with Te Kaha being at 1.75%, which we've before, leaves the balance of the rates, the general rates at 4.85%. Wow. Good job. So the 4.5% or slightly less depending on the amendments. Just double the rate.
So stadium, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a bit of paper here. Okay. Right. Any quick questions on that, Andre? Thank you.
Just to clarify, 6.60 was the figure, including if all amendments were adopted.
Yeah.
And so it'd be 6.56 if they weren't, or where we're at now. So the implication of all amendments from us today is 0.04. Have I got that right? Okay. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Brett. Yes.
Check, was the timeline for the reporting back on the management strategy in 25 or 26? Might have been a typo in there. I just can't see it. It's been 25, sorry. It's a mistake.
26.
Oh, I
25, 26.
Gotcha.
That's really 25. Yeah.
But it had a month in it rather than a.
26.
Thank you.
Financial.
Yes.
Supposed to say 25.
So there was just a misunderstanding around the financial year stuff. So it's this September. That's right, isn't it? Thank you. Sorry.
So will you be able to produce a coordinated strategy in 2 months?
I think it's pushing the boat out, frankly. It's quite a complex matter. It covers 3 waters, transport parks.
How about update on the strategy?
You get an update, but
Yeah, update's fine.
Update.
Yep. Yep.
You're just reporting on the strategy,
Well,
not
an
having the full
update
strategy
on
there.
creating a.
there's no way.
Update the council on. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So here we go here. There. We will now hold one debate for all amendments and the main debate for the draft annual plan. This includes all recommendations 10 to 26. Okay, so who wants to, and just because we've all got 3 minutes, it doesn't mean to say that's it. But anyone is more than welcome to have their say if they want to. Who would like to be first?
Sorry, did you say a debate on just the amendments?
Everything.
The recommendations.
The whole
10.
shebang. Thank you. Okay. Right, we'll move on.
No,
Yeah, Mel. Yeah.
I ask council to support getting on with the public transport lane on Lincoln Road. Please hear from David Hawke, who thinks you should too.
David Hawke from Hawthorne Residents Association here. When City Council drew up the South West Area Plan nearly 20 years ago, it envisaged a public transport future. All the new subdivisions had spine roads designed to fit buses. As these subdivisions rolled out post-earthquake, City Council included a public transport priority lane along Hawthorne and Lincoln roads in its 2016 long-term plan. We're now at the point the central government has committed $60 million for its part and is covering 51% of the cost of the increased frequency of the number 7 bus. But City Council is chickening out. It thinks it can keep kicking the can down the road. But if you think that we're coping just fine, you should know that we have another 500 houses well connected to public transport routes running east from Springs Road, applied for under the fast track approval system. And there's no reason for these developments to stop there. There is land just sitting there waiting for more approval applications. So why is City Council even considering delay? Kia ora.
I would also like council to support funding the capital works to the toilet block in Eddington Park to change it from a derelict site of antisocial behaviour to a community hub. I've lost my message.
Chair of the Addington Farm Board. Kia ora, I'm Grace, I'm one of the board trustees. We've got a new lease for a corner of Addington Park. And we're really excited for the community garden to take shape here. However, this council facility is an unusable eyesore and it attracts all kinds of antisocial behaviour. So we really need your help by you putting money into the budget for these building upgrades. We will bring the passion and the people to this project. We can't wait to kaitiaki this site. It's going to be an amazing investment in Addington now and for future generations. Ngā mihi nui. Kia ora, I'm Sophie.
And finally, I support the kids of Harewood School having a raised platform outside their gate. Now you can listen to the kids.
We are the road patrol team for Harewood School. We need your help to put all safety measures in place for us. Drivers do not stop for fluorescent orange signs in the middle of your lane. So are you confident that a couple of lights is all we need to be safe? 2 weeks ago, when about 5-year-olds ran out onto the road, he will stop barking just in time. A raised platform slows down the traffic just in time. Why don't you be just in time for us and say yes to Harewood School children being safe? And install a raised platform for us.
Right, who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Tim, then Jake.
And I'll be shorter so the kids from Harewood can have a bit more time if they wanted it. But I want to thank my colleagues for being respectful to others' ideas. Every community has its issues and its problems, but we are a city and all those communities join together. And so we've got to have a broader view of things. The only thing that's really disappointed me, and I'm as guilty as others, is that to ensure that when we talk to community groups, they are talking to the right area in council. And there is some acknowledgement and some feedback from council staff there before we come out into public and start talking about things. That's the only thing that's really disappointed me here. And I think we can all do better because we are professional councillors. So I think we need to just lift our game a wee bit. Especially want to thank staff. Whilst we sit around, and I'm as guilty, and I'm probably more guilty than others, with regards to saying, oh look, you know you're busy, but can you do this? We always say it, but I do really compliment and thank you for what you do for the city and for us with this information. So on that, I say thank you, and that's my debate.
Jake.
Also, thanks to the team, even a light touch annual plan is not a light touch for the people who put it together at the coalface. So, they really make our jobs look incredibly easy by comparison. So thank you to all departments of council and particularly our finance team. One thing I did want to daylight in the budget is the shuttle, the money for the scoping study of the shuttle, almost a tongue twister. It's great to see that project finally have some resources allocated to it. It's something residents talk to me about a lot, and even in the consultation, it may look as if it was a 60-40 split, but really that 40% still wanted generally the project to go ahead. They just wanted it at a different cost, or they had a different idea about how it could be done. So overwhelming public support. It's a shame that our friends at ECAN haven't really been that supportive, but you know, that is what it is. Again, thank you.
Pauline?
Oh, right, thank you. Look, although many submitters acknowledged and wanted us to actually do more, even if it did mean a slightly higher rate increase, I think it's important to note that. We are doing our best to make the city as affordable as possible. I mean, think about our wonderful free libraries, and world class and no fines for lateness, with our beautiful, well-maintained free parks and gardens, our free family events, heaps of them, and a lot more. We are keeping our people healthy by providing amazing recreational facilities and a gorgeous outdoor environment. We are the envy of New Zealand, and partnering with thousands of volunteers gives us a tenfold value of each dollar at least. So that's financially smart. And looking at what we have and investing in what we need for future, because we are growing. And keeping our people safe, which is why I brought up the McFarlane Park toilet block. It is grotty, it is dangerous, it's dark, surrounded by trees, no light, and it has to be locked up all the time anyway. And also Springfield Road, which has been impacted by the Northern Motorway coming through St Albans. The independent transport engineer had foreseen this in the modelling over 10 years. A lot of children crossing in this area, along with a low vision facility and an increasing population. We absolutely must look at this with urgency. And with no impact on our rates increase, I'm seeking your support for this and the McFarlane Park. So I think that we as a council are doing really well for our Christchurch citizens, especially considering that we're still paying for the damage from the earthquakes, floods, fires, terrorism, and COVID over the past 15 years. I mean, that is huge. So we are living also in the best city in New Zealand, one of the best in the world, but I think we should all keep that quiet. As a council, we have a responsibility to invest now and for our future, and that is a cost we must all share. So I think we have achieved a pretty good balance today. A big thank you to our staff and the Chief Executive here for the hundreds, could be thousands, I don't know, of hours spent on this light touch budget, and for taking all the ideas and proposals, some of them weird and wonderful, from our councillors and from our submitters, and crunching the numbers. We all want stuff, but we must be prudent, and I think we have been prudent. I also want to thank my councillor colleagues around this table for working together so well, finding compromises to arrive at this budget. Thank you.
Tara.
I think I've got 20 seconds.
Sorry, you can
I'll take the 23 seconds. Tēnā koutou katoa. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you to the people of Banks Peninsula who have been engaged in this process, and a big shout out to everyone in Banks Peninsula who's listening, and I know there'll be lots of you. I also want to thank you to my council colleagues who last night I had my finger poised on the nuclear button. But thanks to the constructive input from my colleagues and staff today, we've walked back from that, and I think that we've landed in a good place. Just a couple of things I want to comment on. Te Auaka Littleton Museum. So just a bit of backstory on that. The museum was lost, obviously through no fault of its own. It was a council-owned building, and the insurance proceeds weren't returned to the museum. So the Museum Trust are trying to find a way to have it reinstated. They're rallying, fundraising, dreaming of its return, but dreams are free, and we need a foundation on which to build. So I think that what we've landed on today is a really good, just a good place. It's a commitment, and thank you. And I'm asking my colleagues to support me in that commitment. Littleton does get 200,000 cruise ship passengers during the summer, and when they arrive, we currently have no real place to receive them and tell them our story when they arrive. So that museum is really foundational, and a placeholder in consultation next year is not really overly extravagant. The Akaroa visitor economy. So Te Akaroa, it's obviously a breathtakingly beautiful place, rich biodiversity, deep cultural space, but it's also a fragile destination economically and environmentally, and we need to be able to plan properly around destination management for that. The amendment I initially put up wasn't meant to be a handout, but rather a strategic catalyst to fund regenerative tourism initiatives, and there are many of them. I think what we've landed on is pragmatic, and I appreciate my colleagues' input on that today. which it's really ultimately about sustainability over saturation for Akaroa. Steadfast Reserve Garage, so calling that garage is generous. It's actually a derelict, dangerous structure that's been sitting on prime community land for too long. It's holding up something really exciting, which is a community-led vision for a new facility. So the Casper residents are asking for a clear process. Hopefully after today, we've got a much clearer process on that. Just a light touch on some other stuff, capital program rebalancing. We've put a good noting provision in there today that we do need. I was talking to my colleague Mark Peters before about, looking further into the future. And I think that we really need to do that as a council. And I think and we're getting to that space now. Multicultural and youth engagement in Akaroa. Look, Akaroa is hurting. What we've got today is a low-cost, high-impact initiative that leverages existing facilities, and let's empower the community on that. The emergency response money for Akaroa, it's a real no-brainer. Community-led resilience is really gold, and residents have done a lot of heavy lifting there, and we need to support that. So I'm just going to close out, Your Worship, if I may. For me, this is really more than a budget. The amendments that I put in about a statement of values, and I value Banks Peninsula, and I hope we all see the value in it. So let's back the Littleton Museum, let's back Akaroa, let's back Pigeon Bay, let's back Cass Bay, let's back Banks Peninsula. Kia ora.
Victoria.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to speak a little bit more frankly and actually register how frustrated I am with the amendments process that we've had this week. I'm all for smart spending and reducing the burden of rates on our residents, but there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to go about it. And I think that what we have seen this week does not reflect best governance practice. And just because we've always done it like this doesn't mean we have to keep doing it like this in the future. We really should not be running a multi-million-dollar organisation like this with a truckload of amendments at the last minute. And what this does is it necessitates last-minute guesses by our staff, which is scribbled on the back of an envelope. And I think it's reckless and I think it's disrespectful to our staff because they work really hard to deliver well-considered, evidence-based advice to us. And I think it also makes a bit of a mockery of our community board structure and our decision-making process and priorities because we're not hearing from them on some of these amendments. So yeah, I've got a real problem with amendments at the 11th hour because I think it's been for the sake of political theatre. And I'm quite justified in saying that because we've seen so much of this paid out on Facebook and we've got a whole heap of amendments that are just noting. Some of them are already in progress, others just a request for information, some inviting groups to make an application for funding. And that says to me that actually these aren't really amendments in the first place. So I think it's an gross abuse of the OP process. So yeah, nothing short of political theatre. I thought that the phrase, the silly season, was reserved solely for the lead up to Christmas. But at this rate, I'm starting to question whether we as councillors should be making any decisions in the lead up into the election because I think some people have lost their heads. And I think that what we've seen, it really undermines all the good work that actually we have done together on this annual plan. You know, we workshopped a whole heap of amendments that came through from the thematic analysis, and it showed that we have been listening to our submitters. And I'm realistic, we can't grant every request, but we have shown that we're prepared to tighten our belts where we can. The question remains whether we've done enough. Really pleased that the original amendment to reduce the capital program passed that first muster. Thanks, Tyrone, for working with me on that. And I acknowledge your noble efforts in trying to reduce it even further. Deliverability is not an exact science, but I'm really comfortable with where we landed. So finally, happy to say, focused on keeping rates down, but I don't do it blindly. I've supported a number of amendments that increase it because it's the right thing to do. And I recognise that some cost increases we can't control. My mandate to vote today comes from the general public, not just in the consultation feedback what we've got, everyday conversations we have. Final note is on the unbalanced budget. Don't like it, but I'm comfortable with the fact that we have a pathway to get out of it for the time being anyway. It's been a difficult task. We've struck the best balance that we can and I'm supporting it today.
Thank you. Celeste.
Thank you. I'm going to take a slightly different take on what constitutes political theatre, and I'm not looking at anyone in particular, of course, but I want to start by thanking staff and Sam and Kathy and everyone else. I know this is a huge amount of work and it's been quite painful, but mostly probably for the people having to do the actual work on this. As mentioned, this has always been a bit of a light touch. We've spent a huge amount of time working through the long-term plan, and I actually think we did a great job by and large with a lot of that stuff. So really, a lot of the costs were already baked in. We had 1.75% stadium, which people supported, so we just have to acknowledge where some of those costs are coming from. We're also dealing with new costs forced on us by central government. We're talking about $2 million for water reform. We've got $6 million for replacing some signs, and these decisions weren't made by us, they're government mandated. So we don't have a lot of control over that. And it does speak to a bigger problem where councils have been asked to do more, but with less say over how it's done, who's paying for it. So I think what this key point is really about is that it's really vital that we have local input into council decision making wherever possible, and we seek to strengthen that. So that's why I think hearing from the community as part of the annual plan process is so incredibly important. And even within the current budget constraints, and we have to be mindful of those, we need to listen to the community, get advice, and propose changes based upon the feedback we've heard. The council website says community members have the chance to submit feedback and speak directly to decision makers during hearings. And an important part of this is making sure their voices are heard and considered, which is where the amendments come in. So I was really disappointed actually about this proposal to shut down discussion of amendments with a rating impact. Doesn't sit right with me when we're encouraging people to submit on a plan and then shutting down debate over that same plan. If we can have a serious discussion about rates increases, let's talk about some of the amendments that were put forward prior to shutting down discussion on amendments by the same councillor, which has the same rating impacts in terms of DC contributions as all of the amendments combined. So, starting with something positive, I think things go well when we work together collaboratively, we listen to each other, we get good results. So overall, finishing on positive, I support the key elements of this plan. I think that Councillor Barber's amendment is a pragmatic way to get safety improvements along Lower Sticks Road. That was a board priority, and I commend him for putting that forward. It has no rating impact, and that's an amendment that I think is fantastic. There's a number of other amendments that I won't have time to speak to, but I think that people have put forward some really good proposals, and this is the appropriate time to consider them. Speaking just finally, I just want to speak to the people that have taken this time to submit. We do hear you. We appreciate you taking the time to submit, and I appreciate the fact that councillors, by and large, have worked together constructively to bring together an annual plan that reflects your feedback.
Sarah?
Kia ora koutou. My debate has two parts. The first is on the specifics of the annual plan, and the second is on the process in line with Councillor Henstock. So when we have really well-informed conversations with our communities about rates and how rates work and about council finances, we actually get some good responses. So in this year's annual plan, I put up an amendment in the draft for us to consult on increasing rates by a small amount in line with our well-established financial strategy when it comes to rating for renewals. This small amount means that over a period of time, we save the ratepayers $20 million. And it was really good to see that 68% of those who submitted on that agreed with that. And I think that having those more nuanced, deeper conversations with our communities bodes well for the future, and we're able to actually do that when we ask them those questions. We can trust our communities, they do understand more than sometimes we give them credit for. I'd also urge councillors to vote in favour of a small amount of funding to enable more chlorine-free water stations to be installed across the city. It does need some funding to do that. I know it's all well and good for those who didn't want to discuss this on Tuesday, many of whom have a water station either in their ward, next to their ward, or close to where they live. But it's but those are really important for people across the city. Regarding the Air Force Museum, I'm really torn on this one. I know there was good support, but since we went out to consult on it, the government announced a $12 billion injection into the Defence Force. We heard from Councillor Peters that it was probably okay to delay the decision for a year. So I would urge colleagues to hold back. There is potential for the government or the Defence Force to have some funding there rather than our ratepayers. And we all know that central government keeps putting costs on us when they should be wearing them. So I'd urge councillors actually just to not vote in favour of that one today. Let's have a look at that one next year instead. Hey, Ellie. Now, the process. I agree with councillor Henstock. This has been reckless. It is not governance best practice. And our communities and our staff deserve better from us. However, I would point out that this is the process that was set up by the leadership, by the mayor, because it is the mayor's role to run the process for the long-term and annual plans. On our first workshop in the agenda, it's very clear that that was for information only. It gave us an update. On the second workshop, slides 5 and 6 were very clear about the amendments process for councillors. Slide 5 in the second workshop on the 22nd of May specified that amendments could only be proposed on the day and that they wouldn't be workshopped in all of those workshops beforehand. So for those councillors who are really grumpy that we've got last minute amendments, it is the process that was set up. So don't blame those councillors who put forward amendments when they were told. And we even asked, and you will remember in the informal earlier this week, we asked if we could get them in earlier and we were told no. I agree the process should be different, it should be better. We should have a chance to workshop all of those ones. And I'd like to do that next year. Thank you.
Okay,
Tēnā rā tātou katoa. I also hear Councillor Henstock and talking about the process, and lucky for me, I use the thematic analysis to bring these amendments forward today. I want to acknowledge and thank staff for the huge amount of work that's gone into the annual plan, and it's not easily balanced with affordability and service delivery, especially when we can be difficult to work with on top of a process which is difficult to work. I think staff have done a phenomenal job, and us as a group, I think we've made solid progress, particularly walking into the election year. I've submitted a number of amendments focused on future opportunities, fairer access, and finding new ways to generate income. We're not just going back to ratepayers every time we need to fill a gap, hopefully. First up is the $4.90 casual pool entry rate for tertiary students. This brings them in line with the Gold Card and Community Services Card holders. UC and UCSA, who represent over 24,000 students, have asked for this, and many students are doing it tough at the moment. They pay rent and with it contribute indirectly to rates. In New Zealand, we lead the OECD in negative mental health outcomes, particularly for this age group. And we know that pools are hubs for wellbeing and connection, and I myself use them 4 to 5 times a week. Around 8 to 12% of eligible students take up the Community Services Card, but over 65s get discounts regardless of income. And parents with kindergartners go free during school hours. The only group left out is students. I want to thank the Sport and Rec team, especially Nigel, for working so collaboratively. Absolute champion. It's a simple decision, and with Pari Kia opening in 2026, it's a real opportunity for uptake for the students. Second is Culture Galore. I proposed 25K in FY 26-27 to safeguard this iconic multicultural event, and it's been running for over 20 years. And with the venue shift, it loses community board funding, so this small investment helps keep thousands of people connected through culture. Thirdly is the bus interchange. I've asked for a report on improving safety and overall feel. We've all heard it, people don't always feel safe there, especially at night. We need better lighting, layout, passive surveillance, and even youth worker support, which would make a huge difference. And I'm looking forward to hearing the report that comes back from that. I've also requested a report on how we capitalise staff time on new capital projects, excluding renewals, because we've already addressed that. It's about accounting. We may be already doing a lot of it, but better tracking could unlock real savings and align us with other councils such as Auckland. I've asked staff to investigate income generating options through better use of underused council spaces, things like offices, rooftops, car parks, and digital infrastructure. This could support commercial leasing, community use, and social enterprises without cutting services. We need to be creative in today's day and age without needing to cut levels of service. And finally, I've noted the progress on Homestead Lane crossing near UC. They've been asking for it for years. With thousands of students moving through the area, it's a much needed safety fix. These amendments are practical, community focused, and aimed at building a more efficient and inclusive council, and I hope that you'll support them.
Okay. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm pleased with where we've got to in terms of what it looks like the rates increase is going to be. I want to reiterate thanks to staff. I think they do an amazing job to respond to all the amendments. The process has been a bit fraught. I agree with Councillor Henstock. However, I did put an amendment myself, which I want to kind of highlight to everybody and hope that you'll support. It's completing a small section of cycleway, no more than 500 metres long, which has the potential to be a real game changer for our city. It's not actually in my ward, it's just outside it, but with the support of Councillor Donovan, we've decided to put it through. So the Seaside Loop is a 50k loop, which goes around the city. We all know how popular some of these trails are around the country, the Central Otago Rail Trail, the Alps to the Ocean. This has the potential to be similar with our city to sea pathway, starting in the city, going to New Brighton, then out to Spencerville, Brooklands, back to the Waimak and along our fantastic cycleway alongside the Northern Motorway. It's a perfect distance for a lot of people to do in a day. And the only section, the reason that I have an amendment in for this is there's a hideous little dangerous section about 500 metres long, which goes around some S-bends on Lower Styx Road. You'll remember Lower Styx Road was the place where former councillor Graham Condon was killed when out on his wheelchair cycle back in the day. So it is an 80k road, and we want to see families and young people biking along there, and if they can do so safely, and this won't cost anything in terms of rates, because the staff have done a wonderful job of looking at all available budgets. So really pleased to support that, and generally I'm really pleased with where we've got to in terms of rates. So thank you.
Andre.
Thank you. Yeah, I still believe we should investigate operational savings and levels of service within the limitations of an annual plan at the start of this process. Ideally, on a day like today, we'd be here debating some really meaty decisions that might impact rates by 1% or 2% or 3%. But at the end of the day, we're here debating amendments that come to a total of 0.04% rating impact. That's what we're debating today. And it does seem to shame that we're not necessarily debating the remaining 99.96% of the budget. There's a lot in there. In terms of amendments, I'm still disappointed that the public weren't able to be consulted on one I brought a number of months ago, which is asking the public if they want the cathedral levy returned to them or not to be offset against rates. Wouldn't have an impact of 0.66%. So for context, that's 16 times the rating impact of all amendments we are talking about here today in this financial year. 16 times the impact. The press did a poll, it was the most popular saving that came back. We didn't ask the public what they thought. So in my view, we haven't done a job right in that regard. That's the kind of thing you go and ask the public about. But on Tuesday, we were emailed 59 amendments and given about 5 minutes to read them before voting whether to consider ruling a bunch of them out. Making decisions on amendments we haven't even read yet doesn't actually seem consistent with the Local Government Act to me. Whether they're cost savings or whether they're or their cost, council's got every right to vote for or against something, but we've got the responsibility to read, debate, and at least consider them. That's our responsibility. So I hope the process is different in any future years. I thought last year's was much better in doing things a bit in advance. But it would also mean that some of the amendments couldn't have then been massaged out like some have been, so there's no longer a rating impact. So not putting them on the table means you couldn't have even massaged them out to get some really good outcomes. And I think there are some really good outcomes coming from some of these amendments, and I think all 59 of them were more worthwhile than the work being done looking into abandoned trolleys, which has a report coming back to us in the coming months. All 59 of them, for the record, I think are much more worthwhile. I will just speak to Lincoln Road. This is something in my view that has to be actioned. I thought it was very sensible just to proceed with the Curlitz to Wrights part, which is currently one lane. That's the part where it does bottleneck. Congestion is getting really bad. There is thousands moving into not just Halswell, but thousands more moving into Selwyn, and Selwyn's going to start directing more traffic down Halswell Road onto Lincoln Road via Ellesmere Road. It's going to get really bad, simply put. Building another lane is critical, and if in future it could even be used for other things, whether it's for Ubers or taxis or vehicles with 2 or 3 occupants in it. But nothing can ever happen until a lane's built. Nothing can go through there until that's done. I don't believe we'll save money by waiting. I think cost escalations over a few years will far outweigh any NZTA subsidy. And we know that 3 years will, that then becomes 5 or 6. Like things happen to us here every year. Goodness knows what the next couple of years look like. And government have actually already funded the $60 million part on Halswell Road. So I'm not sure they're even going to want to fund our part, given they've kind of already come to the party on this issue. But there's actually tens of millions of dollars in projects in this annual plan with no NZTA subsidies whatsoever. And we are pushing ahead because you do have to with some. There's a $3.5 million towards a cycleway in this budget with no NZTA funding. So what I would say is if you're willing to support a budget with cycleway but not construction of another lane on a key arterial route, I'll have suspicions that you're anti-car. We wouldn't want to have that now, would we?
Thank you. Right, anyone else? Marcus?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to commend staff for your patience. Let's try you on regular occasion. So see us work through today, I think to a point where I think we've worked pretty darn well, to be honest. And to hear that news earlier today, where further growth in the city has lowered the figure even further, is phenomenal. It kind of highlights we need to crack on and do a lot of stuff in the city. We can't afford to wait for a lot of it. I've sort of been floating around the fence on a few of these amendments. I think through this debate, I've come to the point where I'll probably support a few of them because of pragmatism for the future of our city. Because that's the thing, we've got to think about the future of our city, not just the now. The expediency of voting down a few amendments to save a couple of pennies may not be the wisest thing for us, because we've got to think about the future and make sure that our city grows to everything it can be. We've got the city in a great place. It's going to get even better over the coming 6 to 12 months. So let's give our city the best opportunity to be the best that it can be. And I think we've worked pretty well together as a team. We've had our moments. It's been testy at times. I don't think the amendment process has been as smooth as it could have been. So hopefully in future years we can learn from that and perhaps give ourselves a little more time to get them in a little bit ahead of the week that we're actually deciding, so that we can really do the homework on them and get some really sound, solid advice. Because we are the governors of the city and we need to make sure that we govern well and with great wisdom. Working together as a team has been, it's testy, but I think we do it well. We do have our moments. And the fact of the quantum of our rates increase, yes, it's a bit higher than the general public would like. Saying that we've got, I think, one of the best figures that I've seen in this area. Neighbours, where they're up in the double digits. You're getting down into the lower single digits. Take out Te Kaha and hey, under 5%, 4.85 is pretty damn good. So I think amongst staff and amongst ourselves, we've done a good job. And I do understand the reason for bringing a lot of amendments like we have. This is the process where we listen to the people, bring to the table what people need and want, and we can make the wise decisions to move our city forward. So looking forward to voting on this and getting this annual plan across the line to future years and make even more decisions.
Aaron, thanks.
Yeah, I'll touch on a couple of points. I think most things have been covered off. I'll start on the process first, because I've been here a couple of these now. Nothing like Yanni, chiseled in stone back then. The first one on the processes, I've actually thought the process is pretty good, so I'll take my hat off to you, Mary. A number of workshops we had, the dozens and dozens of workshops and all of those hours, where there was many occasions where we had opportunities to go up and talk to staff just directly and bounce your ideas off them. So why you wouldn't share your amendment ideas with them then, and so they can go, oh yeah, good idea, well why don't we do this, this or this. That's called collaborative working. I did it on a number that I didn't put because they would be adding to the rates. So I did not put, Sam's face when I suggested one of them to him, and it was like a cartoon just caving in.
That's as usual.
The cut-off point. I didn't even finish the sentence, to be honest. There's a cost of living crisis, so for me to put up rates any more than I needed to, I just wasn't going to do this year. And I've got grand ideas and schemes for the city that I'd love to see progress. It's the greatest little city in the world, and we can make it even better, and I will intend to do that. The water metering one, I do like that has come up, even though it has come up late. I'm happy that it's there because I've been a proponent of us having volumetric charging, and I think that's a conversation for another year for us to have maturely with the city on volumetric, because if we want to really conserve water, volumetric is by far the best way to go, and in that way everyone also would be paying the same per litre of water like you do for gigawatts of electricity or litres of petrol. It just becomes another commodity that you pay the same for. So I look forward to that conversation with the city. And then finally, Harewood Road, the people of Harewood don't want a speed hump on that road. That's really, really clear. It's in a school zone where you need to be doing 30k an hour at the time kids are going in and out of the school anyway. If we have a problem, Phil and I were more than happy when we had done the at this annual plan that we would add the speed hump later if it was required, but we're putting in a set of traffic lights there for the children to cross the road. So we were happy to do it that way around. So I asked people to not put it at this point. The emergency services, and this is a key emergency services route, it's next to an airport. Do the math on that one. That you don't put it in now, we add it later if we need it. And the real danger is around the corner on Johns Road, where you'll see tourists, and it will be fatal at some point, tourists crossing the road. They don't know about or can find the tunnel, and they literally walk across the motorway with multiple bags, and they do it during the middle of the day and the middle of the night. So I'll highlight it here. There's other ways and other things in that area that need it, but I'll leave it there. But I just ask that we're more than happy to do the speed hump later. Let's leave it for now and wait and see.
Okay, Yanni, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to acknowledge the work that staff have done, and in particular, as well, a number of my elected members. This hasn't been an easy budget, and I think the change in central government with a whole bunch of implications in regards to funding has made things incredibly challenging. I am concerned that I don't support declaring a number of our properties surplus, especially places that are suitable for residential development. We've seen positive housing partnerships in places like New Brighton and Scraden that gets affordable housing ownership and rentals by working with community housing providers to come up with creative and innovative housing solutions. Yet amendments supported by submissions to consult on putting budget on and retain properties to address homelessness and emergency housing have not been supported. Yet last week, without any submissions, we agreed to consult on giving developers an extra $7 million of development credits funded through rates without any public submissions. So I'm really struggling with this budget to address some of the things that are important. I also think that while we spent time on some small tweaks, there hasn't been enough work done on the single biggest cost driver today, the new stadium. How ironic that the headline in the paper today is the first seat of 25,000 being installed, yet we could have had a fundraiser like the Court Theatre and sold names on those seats, raising tens of millions of dollars to help offset the cost. On top of this, despite setting up a working party to look at the cost of how things are done, we've yet to have a report back, and here we are again signing off on another year of spending. I'm of the view that there's better ways to spend money on doing things that are more cost effective than current practices. For example, the Morehouse Stewart Ave traffic light investigation is costing $300,000 for a business case. In my estimation, this equates to 2 traffic engineers working full-time for a year just to get a business case for 1 set of traffic lights. Completely inefficient. Not to mention the significant issues and increases in budgets to cater for the whims and desires of Kiwi Rail, or completely unrealistic things such as the $7 million going towards the Scrutton Roads crossing. So in conclusion, I stood on the basketball courts and sat in skate parks and walked local streets to try and get submissions. My takeaway from the consultation is that the documents are too wordy, the programs lack visibility, and it is very difficult for people to make submissions in support of things that they want, things that they don't, and what they want improved. The reality is that many communities do not have equitable access to technology to engage in the way that some do. And so the simpler we make the consultation document and the submission form, the better. So I'm struggling to support this budget. There's some very good things in it, but there's some things that I don't agree with. But ultimately, I don't think we've done enough to keep the rates affordable for people that are struggling, particularly with the single biggest item that is generating the single biggest cost.
Thanks. Look, we're looking at an average residential rates rise of now around 6.6%, which that includes 1.75% for the One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha for the financial year. And that's certainly better than the 8.9% in the draft and the 11.5% average commercial rates rises in the draft. I do want to acknowledge the savings that have been made throughout this process. And we were looking at a capital program of around 600 million. Well, some of this has been scaled back in parts. We need to acknowledge the council, it does have a long history of under delivery in the space. We continually borrow and charge rates for work we won't realistically complete. On the operational side, the budget included around 11 million additional costs for staffing and service increases. You know, the truth is that's not the kind of overhead growth we should be committing to when we're asking ratepayers to absorb rates increases that are more than double that of inflation. I don't want to take anything away from the positive steps that we've taken to scale expenditure back and the enormous work that's been undertaken by staff. However, the fundamental problem lies in the long-term plan, which effectively locks us into a spending and borrowing trajectory. It's too much pressure on ratepayers. An annual plan, which you're well aware of, is essentially the council's amendments to the long-term plan. And you can tinker around the edges, but anything more substantial is going to be out of scope of an annual plan process and initiate a special consultative procedure. So I fundamentally disagree that the long-term plan is fit for purpose, particularly as we come out of record high inflation, high interest rates and a cost of living crisis. Our rates are simply unaffordable, and increasing them at more than double the rate of inflation I just don't think is sustainable. I think this plan that we've got in front of us now is a vast improvement on the draft. Mary and her staff have undertaken a mountain of work, and I greatly appreciate that. I think the process has been incredibly well led by Mayor Phil, but fundamentally, I think the budget still spends too much and borrows too much and follows an LTP that I disagree with.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. And obviously just start by acknowledging both you and Mary for your leadership in this. There's a heap of people in the background that do an inordinate amount of work. But really, I see both of your roles as trying to collaborate around a table with a group of what I would call difficult people, myself included, in terms of getting something through. I take seriously your points about the process, but actually real leadership is not being negative. It's about getting on and working with people to do something for the city. And I think as we go into this next election, there could not be a clearer choice around positivity or sniping and petty politics that don't lead to anything. And I find that incredibly frustrating. I think, if you look at the process, we're governed by the Local Government Act, and actually working through that is the way to do it. Every other council adopts amendments the way we did. Simply what we did on Tuesday was have a debate and a vote on whether we want to consider the amendments that increase rates. That was voted down. We've moved on from it today. We're going to vote through them all now. But the reality is there was a choice for the people of Christchurch in that respect. Look, I agree. I will support the water meters that go through today, and I will support the $15,000 that goes on operating costs for the chlorine-free station. $15,000 in our budget is not a lot of money if it leads to a point where people can get more chlorine-free water. I note that there's no capital expenditure in the next year to do that. And like the advice says, there'll be the regulatory functions, which might mean it becomes even cheaper. So I'm pleased that that's moved from where it initially was. Look, I think the other point to note, and I get that the cathedral does become a bit of a whipping boy, so to speak. And I can't go into the detail here because it's obviously without prejudice in terms of our legal advice, but the advice is very clear. The advice is very, very clear, and it is disingenuous to say otherwise in this public domain. And I can't go into other reasons for that, but the advice is very, very clear. So look, I think we've actually got to a point now, this is a compromise. This is the whole way the council has to operate. We have to figure out how to work together to get something around the table that works. We won't like everything. I don't like the speed bump on Harewood Road. Sounds like it's going to go through. That's just the reality of democracy. The people in October will decide who they want around this table. But until then, they're stuck with all of us. We need to figure out how to work with each other and do it in a way that isn't negative, that isn't petty politics, and that helps grow the city.
Okay, tis I. Right.
You're not being negative, are you? Or petty?
I was just backing up Victoria's point.
Not just today, sir. I've got it written here, and I've actually changed it and then changed it back. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and commend, but I changed it to condemn. My council colleagues for working together to achieve a positive outcome for our city. It has been a collaborative effort, and the constructive approach reflects our shared commitment to Christchurch and its communities. Since August 2024, council has had multiple opportunities to discuss and debate the annual plan, starting with our agreement to do a light touch. Heaven help us, was a heavy touch. And the approach following the LTP. In February, we adopted the draft plan, and after considerable debate and launched a robust consultation process, which drew hundreds of submissions and was praised by the Audit and Risk Chair as the best he's seen. Throughout May, we held workshops to deliberate on community feedback. Councillors debated key changes, including 71.5 million rephasing of the capital program and a range of cost-saving measures. We also gave clear direction on major proposals such as cathedral targeted rate, city shuttle, rating for renewals, and climate change fund. Just this week, we considered over 60 further amendments, reflecting the breadth of councillors' priorities and your strong engagement in shaping this plan. Through our community consultation on this plan, and more broadly, we have seen that what one person considers nice to have, another sees it as must have. Around this table, we reflect the same diversity. What some councillors consider essentials, others may consider extravagances, but that is the nature of democracy. Our community expects us to debate, to listen, and ultimately to make decisions in the collective interest, even if we don't always agree. It is our duty to navigate our diverse views and find the best balance we can, not just for today, but for Christchurch's future. A couple of the amendments that I'm looking at, Hillwood Road School, I'm totally with Aaron. I think we should put it in. Because why would we have speed bumps there when we need them 2 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon? Don't need them at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, and I don't actually believe that any signalised crossing should have a raised speed hump. Lincoln Road, there is actually work starting on this in the next few months, tidying up all the messy boundaries, the old fences, and getting it ready. I'm told that it's already designed. Now it's up to me to go and see if I can work some magic in Wellington. I know we've got to do a business case. We go out there and say, like we did with Brown Street, and see if I can prize some money out of that government department once we know I can do that. Stewart Street, an absolute waste of space. We shouldn't even be spending any money on it. God knows how it's actually got to this point. So if we can defer it, you look at it. So other than that, two other things that I'm more than happy with the water stations, as Sam said, 15 grand for scoping, that's good. And I am convinced that we'll be able to get cheaper ones in next year, which means we'll be able to put more around the city. And it's the stations and water meters. If we get them in everywhere, it will take a bone of contention away from some people who feel that they're being hard done by. So then everyone is on the same playing field. So thank you very much. So which one do I do first? Yep. So we're up to the amendment. Yeah. We have split the amendments into the following categories, and which we will vote on as follows. Noting and report requests. We'll put these as a block in one vote. Pauline's, I moved it, Pauline's second, but just as the stuff all up to page 14, okay, that we talked about earlier on. Everyone, we'll get those all out of the way, and then we'll go down the other ones one by one. Right. So everything up to page 14. I'll put that. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Brilliant. Thank you. That's carried. Okay, so now we start with yes. Yes, oh yeah. Here we are.
Is division A would be called if it's clearly a
yes, but it might not be necessary.
But for votes, I'll be asking councillors to raise their hands for and against and abstentions. Please keep your hands up so Sam can count the numbers, but we can take divisions if everyone's right. Yeah.
They'll be on the screen.
Yeah,
behind us.
Is there a 3B? Just double checking before. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one.
Oh no, just looking out the data one on the TV. Yeah,
okay.
It's any smaller, the old ones can't read it.
So the So we've got a mover and seconder. I'll put this motion, everyone that's in favour of A23, which is written on the board behind us, please raise a hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
No way.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
You should have gone for Milton.
Just the real Grinches. That's
Yep.
the main.
Against?
2.
Okay, so those are carried. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
Cannon Hill Crescent, that's A46. Got that? It's moved and seconded. Everyone who's in favour of that, please raise their hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4.
So I say thank you, that's passed. Carried. Oh, we're over the page. Christchurch Hall, A56, investigate, it's just a request to investigate the acquisition. So it's been moved and seconded, so all those in favour of investigating that? Hang on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15.
Okay, so that's well carried, thank you very much. A21, Bangor Peak Bangor Station, which I must go and have a look at one day. I'm hearing a lot about it. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour with that, please put their hand up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4.
Great, that's carried. Okay, A15, Grants and Funding Accessibility Fund. Agrees to increase the accessibility fund by £50,000. It's all written there behind me. All those in favour, please put your hand up.
2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4.
So that's carried, thank you. A24, Culture Galore. Everyone that's happy with that, please put their hand up. Yeah, that's easy, easy.
Oh, I love you guys.
That's passed. Thank you. Akaroa Bay's emergency response, a utilised contested fund.
This is yeah, no, I was gonna say it's just
Everyone that's keen on that, please put your hand up. Yep, that's passed, no sweat. Thank you. Right.
Yeah, I understand.
Full division.
Yeah.
Just full division.
Glad we got mine out of the way.
Transport's always gonna be last. Just those that listen to kids and those.
It's called payback time. Okay, so it's a Harewood Road crossing raised platform. So all of those in favour of installing a raised. Oh, you're right, we'll do division for this increase, right.
So for A1, the Harewood Road platform, councillor Peters.
No.
Councillor Fields.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Coker.
Yes.
School kids.
Councillor Donovan. Yes. Deputy Mayor Cotter. Yes. Councillor Henstock. No. Councillor Moore.
No.
Councillor Goff.
No.
Councillor Johansson.
Yes.
Councillor Kewen.
No.
Councillor McDonald.
no.
Councillor Barber.
No.
Councillor McClellan.
Yes, to keeping the kids safe.
Yeah, not with the traffic light. It's the first for everything.
Councillor Scandrett.
Yes.
The Mayor. And Councillor Templeton.
It's a signal.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Carry. Is that right? Okay. There goes 35 grand. Okay.
It never got
Oh,
taken
so
off
we're
the
not doing the signals now.
35
Never
grand,
taken
say
off.
crossing somewhere else.
Guys, can we just?
So A5, Lincoln Road PT corridor.
Division on
Same
that
as
one.
Yeah, division on this one as well, please. Yeah. This agrees to bring forward funding and removes any.
Principal always gets us.
Yeah. There's gotta be something.
So for amendment A5, Lincoln Road PT
We get on
corridor,
remarkably well.
Councillor Kewen.
I'll wait.
You can't do
You
that.
can't wait.
You wait for the funding, is that what you?
Well, given the mayor said he
not
will
debate.
ask quickly, oh, well, Jake did on the last one. So
Oh, we're just going on for 5 minutes.
I
Yes or
will,
no?
I
Put the
will
clock
actually
on.
support it.
What was it?
What was that?
That was a yes.
Okay, we're adding a lane.
Councillor McClellan,
That was too much time taunting Aaron.
You're thinking about me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
councillor MacDonald,
No.
councillor Henstock. Councillor Moore,
Yes.
councillor Scandrett,
Yes.
councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Coker,
Yes.
councillor Peters.
Yes.
Mayor,
No.
councillor Templeton,
Aye.
councillor Barber,
No.
deputy mayor Cotter. Councillor Fields.
Yep.
Councillor Johansson,
Yes.
councillor Donovan,
Just wait for the end.
Yep. councillor Goff. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Narrowly carried.
Narrow.
Okay, thank you. Next one, footpaths, number A30. Oh, sorry, yes, just put a vote. All those in favour of that, please put their hand. Yeah, that's right. No sweat. No, that's all good. Thanks, Sam. Okay, Bromley Roads agrees to adding some funding, 1 million this year and 4 million over the next couple. All of those in favour of that one, please raise your hands.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Celeste, is your,
Sorry, yep.
10, 4.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Woodhouse Street. That's yeah, Jake and Yanni. So all those in favour of that, please raise their hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's carried. Okay, so now we get into water. Chlorine-free water stations. All those in favour of that one, which is from Sarah and Pauline, please raise your hands. If that's all right, no worries.
Not Aaron.
Sorry, yeah, no, that's passed. Yeah, okay. A16, 3 waters for water meters. All those in favour of that, hand up. Yep, over the line. It's done our toilet. All those in favour of that, please hand up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So that's fast, thank you. The next one, Akaroa Visitor Economy. Everyone in favour of that, please put their hand up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4.
Excellent, that's passed. Right.
You know, I've got councillor Henstock and McLennan sitting back for that.
So this one is Stewart Street intersection. It's for the business case. Defers line item, it's actually written differently. Yeah, for consideration in the next long-term plan. So everyone that's in favour of that. Yep, well over, no problem. So go to the next pages. Rates up there.
Everything was passed, wasn't it, that you predicted earlier?
It's just a bit busy.
Yeah.
It is.
So do you
So-
want to give them?
So it's within nothing of what you, so we don't really need to take a break.
Do you need to just update the decimal figures?
Oh, the decimal figures?
Yeah.
Okay, righto.
So.
By 10 minutes?
About 10, Steve?
15.
15?
Landed at 6.60, which is just got the sector breakdown on that. Residential is 6.49.
Sorry, 6.1?
49, which is on the average house, it's a $4.96 per week increase. Business, average business is 7% increase, and rural is 6.49.
6.49. Well,
That's lucky. So it's lower.
What's wrong? Thank you very much. Right. I'll now put recommendations 10 to 19 to the vote, and councillors, this is for voting on the substantive. 10 to 19. Please clearly indicate if they want their votes recorded against or abstentions recorded. We can take divisions if required. So everyone that's happy with all of those, this is all just housekeeping stuff. Please say aye. Aye. Against?
No for 10 to 14.
17, but no for the others.
17.
So Councillor Johansson's no for everything but for 17.
And I'm only against 10 to 14.
Okay, so anyone else? Gary, thank you very much. So now we go to the adoption of the annual plan, which is recommendation 20, the substantive. I'll put that, which is the formal adoption of the annual plan. All those in favour? Aye. Against?
No.
Right, James, got that.
What was the other one?
Yeah. Okay. Now, I will put recommendations 21 to 26 to the vote. All of those in favour? Aye. Against?
No, it's 23.
23, okay. And this is resuming standing orders, so I'm happy to move and Pauline's happy to second. No debate, obviously, so all those in favour of resuming standing orders, please say aye. Aye. Against? Thank you, that's carried. Oh, I've got to read this. Everyone, I want to extend my sincere thanks to the Secretariat team and the staff from Finance Performance Teams, PMO, Consultation and Engagement, and Heads of Service. Your professionalism, expertise, and tireless work have guided us through a complex and demanding process. And it's certainly been made more challenging because of the need, to move out of civic for a while. But you've been agile and you've made it much easier for us all. And I'm sure it hasn't been easy sitting over there, Sam. Anyway, I'd also like to acknowledge staff here at Fendalton who have gone out of their way to give us a hand and have made us welcome. While we've all felt the pressure around the table, it's your commitment behind the scenes that's enabled to get us to this point. Your hard work has made a huge difference, and I'm sure I can speak for all councillors, are very, very grateful. So thank you all. And lastly to staff, I bet you're looking forward to starting the next annual plan. I bet you can't wait. So thank you very much, everyone.
Kia te tapu, kia wātea Aotearoa, kia tūruki whakataha ai.
Kia tūruki
whakataka ai.
Kuie,
Taha.